Hey guys, and welcome back to another pod. Don't laugh.
I think we should keep all of this in.
It was just too long. It was too long.
For God's sake. Oh no.
Let's just
You
go.
put me off.
Let's start.
Sorry. Right. Right, that's the intro. It's done. Right. Okay, welcome back to another podcast. Today it's been about 2 weeks. Was it 2 weeks since we last did one?
Yeah, I think so.
So we're just going to talk about how we're still coping. Well, actually, no, we're not, are we? We're going to be talking about films because that was our second or third podcast ever. Back in China, we did one about films, and now we're going to be talking about more films that we've seen since then, and the films that came out last year, the Oscars this year, and then probably just move on to some other stuff when we feel like it, really, because just like quarantine, there is really no script to this. So let's just begin.
Is a social construct anyway, so
It is. That is correct, actually. Right then, let's talk about films that, some of the best films that we've seen in recent memory. I'd say let's go from 2018 to the present day.
Yeah, it's been good.
It's been been a very good past few years. There's been
really
huge
has.
blockbusters. There's been some there's been some sleeping hits. There's been some really, really good mixture of movies. I think cinema's been on a huge surge in recent
definitely.
years, especially.
There's also been some very bad ones.
There's always
which we
bad
could
movies
discuss.
that come out.
Yeah,
I love a bad
I do
movie
think
though.
that there's been a surge for people striving for good cinema.
Certainly.
I also as well though, cinema, I feel like it's increasingly become more expensive. So
You mean budgets and stuff?
well, yeah, but that too. But I think it's still very expensive to go to the cinema.
Depends
it
where
can
you
be.
go
Yeah,
to.
it can be. I mean, we always get the Meerkat movie, don't we? And if we could get a sponsorship from this podcast from Meerkat Movies, that'd be fantastic. But yeah, we always use Meerkat Movies. And I remember there was the period when 1917 came out, there was The Joker, there was a few other good movies, and we were going every 2 or so weeks on a Tuesday and a Wednesday.
My dad pays for, I think it's with Cineworld, and he pays a month. Well, he used to pay a monthly fee, and it was £25 to £30. I can't remember. It was a family thing. But they were going literally every week just to see something, even if it was shit. But I don't think I'd do that. I don't think...
Your dad
And
needs a
because
letterbox account.
He does!
Yeah.
I said this to him. Ethan's got one, actually, my younger brother.
Yeah, yeah, his ratings are quite funny, actually. But
Really funny.
I do respect him, actually. He knows what he's on about.
He does.
such
And
a
you
young
know what?
age.
He watches YouTube videos with people who break the film down and explain it. And he really does his homework on a lot of films. And he'll tell me why a film is good and why a film is bad.
How old is he again?
He's only 14.
Wow.
I think he'll do film at university, to be honest.
Yeah, he'll definitely be a
Following
hobby.
in
He's
his
a
big
very
sister's
deep
footsteps.
Oh,
Very
How
cute,
nice.
Very cute.
So
Yeah.
I'm just looking at a list of films that came out in 2018. And
Go on.
my favourite film that came out that year was Isle of Dogs.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was an excellent movie. We went to
Great
see that
film.
together, didn't we,
We
Amy?
did go and see that together. That was your first
That was
Anderson,
brilliant.
wasn't it?
It was. That was my first Wes Anderson movie that I saw, and that was sensationally good. That was brilliant.
I'm
Brilliant movie.
so excited about his upcoming film, The French Dispatch, because
Whenever that comes out.
whenever that comes out,
Yeah.
because not only is Timothée Chalamet in it and this huge cast, it was filmed in Angoulême, which is where I used to live in France.
Which is very, very cool. It's a really nice city as well. Obviously, you took me there, and yeah, it's going to be really exciting. And we've got the poster hung up in our front room, and it's based on the city as well. So it's got key features of the city on there.
Angoulême is an important city because that's where it's what's it called? Bande dessinée, which is like comic book strips and things, and where Tintin was written.
I thought Tintin was Belgian.
Yeah, he lived
he
there.
wrote it, and it was illustrated and written in Angoulême because there's a big statue of Hergé in the centre. But anyway, they have like a big Festival de la BD, which is not at all like Comic-Con, but it's essentially the same thing. It's a comic book convention thing. So
Classic
all
comic
the
books.
illustrations and stuff for the French Dispatch are done by the same people that did, the same style that Tintin was written in, was illustrated in and stuff. So yeah, I'm very excited.
That's a good one coming up. But yeah, Isle of Dogs was a fantastic movie.
Mm.
Really loved it.
It really was.
I watched it on the plane. Did it get? No, it didn't win Best Animation, did it?
No, it should have.
Spider-Man won.
Spider-Verse.
Oh yeah, it did. Oh,
That was
I was
excellent.
going
though.
about that. I was absolutely fuming. But to be fair, I
Spider-Verse
did
was
see a
an
few
excellent
clips.
movie, though.
I did see a few clips of it, and it was pretty good. But I'm a huge stop motion fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I mentioned that I watched it on the plane to China, and I really didn't expect to cry, but it just really got me. Like it was. I love anything where it's like almost like a found family, like two people who don't belong, kind of like finding each other. I just was really touched by it. Yeah, it's probably one of my favourites of 2018 as well, along with The Meg, of course.
The Meg is just a work of art. Like it's just genius. I really want to see that film again. Actually,
I can't believe we paid our own money to go and watch that. But to be fair, we had a lot of fun.
I had such a good time. It was so much fun. Just brilliant.
And
one-liners for days and crappy CGI. And there was
terrible acting.
There was two of them. There was two Megs. It was fantastic. It was so good.
Spoiler, I didn't know that.
Meg, it's the Meg.
Did not know
The
that.
Megs.
Oh.
Well, there you go. You should
To
see
be
it now,
fair,
Tom.
when we were in China, you obviously watched it before we went, and then we watched Five-Headed Shark Attack in China,
Which
in
was
tribute to the
another
Meg,
highlight.
which was
That was
just
like the
terrible.
first week we were all there, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was quite early because we watched it on that terrible box that we had.
Yeah.
And I remember distinctly the scene where it doesn't it come out and destroy a helicopter? It jumps out the water and destroys a helicopter. And you can always tell that it's a man's glove. You can tell it's like a hand with superimposed sharks on it. It just looks terrible, but what a laugh. What a laugh.
It was a great movie.
Another film that came out in 2018 that we actually saw in China was Green Book.
Yes. Classic.
I
I did enjoy that.
About that on the podcast before.
We have.
No,
we were
didn't.
toying
I
with
think
doing an Oscar one, didn't we? But we never did it.
No, we saw that was it February or March? Really not too, it must have been March because we saw it not long before we left China, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I remember, I think it was, you know what, I actually don't know, but anyway, I enjoyed it. Great cinema. It was a good laugh, actually.
Yeah, and the Chinese loved it, didn't they?
They did.
Yeah, they
Although
did,
they didn't laugh. They didn't laugh at all the funny bits. They laughed at all the...
Yeah, but it's difficult, isn't it? Because it's translated, isn't it? And
yeah.
we would laugh
quite a bit.
Yeah, they did, to be fair. We would laugh at something, then they would laugh a couple of seconds after, because obviously they had to read the Mandarin. But I thought it was awesome.
I distinctly remember them laughing at all the kind of racist bits that not the racist bits, but where he gets drunk and he's in the bar and I can't remember what happens, but he's about to have a confrontation. I remember them laughing at that, and I'm like, I can't really figure out what's funny about this, but that is also when I discovered that the Chinese do not have adverts or trailers before their film.
Oh my gosh,
I
so
went to
jealous.
the toilet and came back and had missed 5 minutes of the beginning of the film.
Yeah. That was weird, that, wasn't it?
Everyone.
It was literally just, we walked in, they wouldn't let you in early either. You had to be in exactly on the time. You go in, you sit down. There was an advert for something, and then there was a trailer, an army promotional video, and then the film started.
Yeah,
that was it.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
So, A Star Is Born, Roma, The Favourite, Black Panther. I'm just looking at a list now of films that came out. Hereditary, A Quiet Place. I still haven't seen that. Is
that is excellent?
Good film.
Quiet Place. Highly, 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 highly recommend.
Yeah.
I've not
Why are they
seen
making a
it.
second one? Why are they doing a second one with Cillian Murphy's in it. Just leave it as it is. It was a great film, and it had a good ending. That was it. Yeah,
I'm still very wary of John Krasinski because he's like trying to break out of his Jim Halpert phase with Jack Ryan and being all like action and running about and stuff, and I'm just not sure if it's really
he doesn't look right when he runs, does he? Doesn't feel right. He's just not that kind of guy.
I'll tell you what, Amy, when you get around to watching A Quiet Place, like he is an excellent actor. Like, he's definitely got loads of different, he can definitely tap into a different side when it comes to acting, but he directed that movie as well, and he is an excellent director. Like, it's really good. Really good. Okay.
I love Emily Blunt as well. She's great in everything, so I'll watch it for her if nothing else.
Yeah, you should. Good film. She's excellent. She's ace.
We watched The Favourite together as well, didn't we, in China?
Yes. We did, yeah. It was an interesting film. I did enjoy it, but I felt like it went on for a long, long, long time. And I think that was just because I wasn't fully into it.
I really liked it. I thought it was so different, and it's the kind of film that, like, I've only seen it once. I haven't watched it since, but I can probably talk you through the entire film. Like, it all stuck with me, and it really was quite shocking on purpose. I think some points, I just can't imagine all the old white men on the Oscar board liking it that much. Like, that really surprises me. Like, because it's quite vulgar, and it is just so
but sometimes the Academy do go for the more obscure.
Yeah. I mean, it only won one award though, didn't it? Only won for Olivia Colman. I think that's the only thing it got, which was well deserved. She was fantastic. God, she was crazy in it. It was really, really special bit of acting. But yeah, it was nominated for best film, wasn't it?
It was nominated for Best Picture, Best Actress, and Supporting Role. Hold on a second. Let me click on it.
For both of them, wasn't it? Both Emma Stone and
Rachel Weisz.
Rachel Weisz, that's it.
Oh, wow.
Daniel Craig's wife or ex-wife, I can't remember now.
It was nominated for... Actually, it was nominated for loads.
Oh, brilliant.
Must have been nominated for costume.
I was going to say, I remember you telling me, Amy, about how the costume designer just bought a load of stuff on eBay and stuff and was just...
Yeah, that's
really cool.
Did you know? I always... Yeah, that's very good.
I thought Nicholas Hoult was really good in it as well. I know it's very much the three main characters, but I really like him, and he was good.
He was. Yeah.
He's so good in About a Boy.
Oh, he's so tiny in it.
Yeah. Oh, bless him. Black Klansman also came out that year, and
I didn't enjoy that.
Thought the structure of it was bad. Like, I didn't. I thought the premise of it was really interesting. I just don't think it was very well executed.
And one thing that annoyed me about that film is just Spike Jonze during the Oscar ceremony when Green Book won. He conducted himself in a way which, I don't know, he seemed like he really didn't understand what Green Book was all about. He considered it as a racist film.
I think the view is that it's kind of just a bit soft. Like, it doesn't take racism as... He obviously compared his film to the present day when it had, the Charlottesville riot footage at the end. Whereas I think Green Book is the kind of film that it could have come out 10, 20 years ago and it would have been, it would have been fine. It doesn't really make as...
I understand that.
As much of a point as his does.
But we don't all have to be Malcolm X, do we? We can have something that does shine a light, but not in such an extreme way in which you are shocked to the core. Because in Black Klansman, obviously the movie had its theme, and then at the end it had images of racism today. And yes, it's shocking, but we know what racism is. We don't have to be fed it with a spoon. We can look between the lines of Green Book and see what it's actually about.
But at the same time, the KKK has a direct link to things that are happening nowadays. So that's where he was drawing the comparison, whereas Green Book, it would have been a bit weird to have drawn the same comparison. Because there isn't a same comparison. Like, black people are free to travel wherever. So I think he took it a bit too far. And also, it was Spike Lee, not Spike Jonze, by the way. You should Spike Jones directed it.
Spike Jones directed her, not Spike Lee is
yeah.
Spike Lee.
Why would you have a name of Spike? You know,
There's too many spikes out there. They're all
it's
so confusing.
anyway. No offense to Spike Jones.
Just looking at the list again. A film that came out that year, but I only watched this year, was 8th Grade. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet, but I love Bo Burnham, so
it was really good. It was on. I think it's on Sky Movies, and it really completely blew me away. I just felt so sorry for this poor little girl who's living in in this new age of technology, and it really shines a light on that. It made me think of my little sister, to be honest, who's living her life through Instagram and YouTube and TikTok. But I really recommend it if you haven't seen it. It's very good.
Yeah, I'll give it a go.
2 also came out that year.
What did, sorry?
The Incredibles 2.
Oh, don't get me started.
Yeah, I preferred the first one, but it was nice.
Who doesn't?
All right film. Yeah. And the one thing that annoyed me was the Underminer. What? The cliffhanger.
The unresolved cliffhanger from the first one.
Oh, gee.
Well, I watched The Incredibles 2 in the cinema, and I was like, yeah, that was good. That was all right. I enjoyed it. It wasn't as good as the first one, but I'm not unhappy with it. And then Ed already has heard this rant, but I think it was last week, me and my brothers watched the first 2 back to back, the original and the second one. And the second one, when you watch it straight after the first one, it's like watching a parody. It's so much worse than I remembered.
Oh, no, really?
It's the story is really weird. The entire focus on Jack for so long, it just loses its cuteness after a minute, and you're like, okay, it's just off. There's something about it that's wrong. But it's weird because it was directed and written by Brad Bird, who did the first one. So you'd think it would be absolutely spot on, but it's like it's the first one on crack. It's just odd.
I do feel with a lot of sequels, especially in animation, they try to one-up themselves every time, and they try and make it more dynamic, and more things are happening, and it's just drowning itself basically in storylines. I watched The Secret Life of Pets yesterday, Secret Life of Pets 2, and I thought the animation was unlike anything I'd ever seen. Obviously I'm exaggerating, but it was really sharp and vibrant, but the story was just crap. But I still watched it because it's animation, but I just feel like it had 3 independent storylines. I'm just what is the point in that?
I'm amazed that film got a sequel. The first one was shocking.
Oh, so animation films always get sequels because it brings in so much money.
I know, but it's the integrity of cinema. You might have a bad film, you really shouldn't have a second bad film. But then again, there are 5 Sharknado movies, so what do I know?
Yeah, exactly. There's all the Trolls films as well. But it's just because parents will put it on for the kids, won't they?
That's the thing.
There's nothing, the kids don't care.
Ever since the Disney company was founded, family-friendly movies have always been just a guaranteed moneymaker, because family-friendly films are just the easiest ones to make money on, and sequels will always get approved even before they've been written, even before a script has come out.
So why haven't we had B-movie 2? Where's that? We're all asking for it.
I tell you what, DreamWorks
Come on, Seinfeld.
just disappointed recently. What was our last DreamWorks film?
Wasn't there one about a Yeti or something?
Oh, Abominable or whatever it was called, something like that.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of DreamWorks, as you all know. I'm not a fan of Shrek.
Disgusting.
I didn't know that.
I can't believe that. I didn't know that either, Tom.
Pixar is superior.
Oh, the Cruise.
That's it.
Pixar is superior, but it doesn't mean Shrek is bad.
I can kind of get away with the first one. Second one
Shrek
goes downhill. So does when it comes to the third one, and then the fourth one.
The third one sucks, and the fourth one's not great, but the first 2 are fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm so shocked. I did not know that, Tom.
Well, there you go. I always like to say something controversial, and that was it for today.
I used to not like Shrek 2 just because I was been like, oh, sequels are rubbish. But like, I've watched Shrek 2 numerous times now, and it's unbelievably good. It's like almost as good as the first one. First one can't be beaten, but it's still an excellent movie. Really good.
The halls.
I watched all the Toy Stories the other day, and the jump in animation from 1 to 4 is astonishing. Like the humans in it, like the toys, it's not very noticeable, but with the humans and the dog, they're so like robotic, and they've all got the same face. It's actually mad, and their mouths don't move at all to the sound of like what they're saying.
Yeah, I remember Sid in the first one. He looked like a clay, literally just like Play-Doh squished together. It was so funny. But yeah. I still haven't seen Toy Story 4, and I refuse. I won't watch it.
You'd really like it.
Really? I think it's quite good, actually. Yeah, I do like 3. I think 3 is probably my personal favourite. For some reason, I don't know what it is. It's probably the final scenes where they're all holding hands and whatnot. And yeah. Oh,
I'd say 2.
I didn't like 3.
I'd say 2 is my favourite.
I think 2 is my
2?
No.
2.
Nah, the first one all the way.
Chicken Man, are you mad?
Yeah, Rafa Benitez.
No, I think it's 3rd and 1st for me between those 2.
Although 2 has the most iconic scene where he's getting cleaned and stitched back together. It's the most amazing
good.
Scene.
Beautiful.
It's awesome.
I think that was the beginnings of ASMR.
Yes.
That's where it stemmed.
Yeah.
Right, moving on from Toy Story and possibly animation altogether. Let's talk about some other like top hitting movies. What came out?
Shall you come into this year? Yeah, in the last year now.
I'll start off with a film that I was incredibly excited for and incredibly disappointed by, and that was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and from my favorite director as well. And I was so disappointed.
You were disappointed.
I just watched it and I was just not enjoying it. I thought the script wasn't that funny. I thought, other than the acting was superb as always in every Tarantino movie. That's without question.
Leonardo DiCaprio did not win. I mean,
he was against Joaquin Phoenix though, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was not going to win against him, against that performance. But other than the acting and the cinematography, the film just didn't connect with me. Like the whole Charles Manson thing, I thought was so underutilized, and you literally see him for like 30 seconds.
That is the point.
No, it's not. No. It's you throw something as serious as Charles Manson into that world, you have to address it properly, I think. And even though it's Tarantino and he killed Hitler in Inglourious Basterds, I just think that is such a subject that needed to be possibly addressed. Especially, I like the ranch scene was incredibly tense. That was probably my favorite part of the movie, but other than it just didn't click with me, the film. Like, I just didn't really understand. Like, it was over 3 days, the entire film, and like 2 of those days were back to back, and then it was 6 months later, the next day that was in the lives of the characters. It just didn't click with me. I was very, very disappointed. It's probably my second to least favorite Tarantino movie behind Death Proof, which if you haven't seen, I don't recommend.
I agree. I think there was so much underutilized. I did really like, and this was a bit controversial apparently, but I really liked the Bruce Lee scene as well.
I liked it as well.
I thought he was so similar to Bruce Lee.
What was the point of it though? What was the point of it? I don't know.
The point of it was that Brad Pitt's character was every bit as good as Bruce Lee at fighting, and I thought that was quite a good way to demonstrate it. But then the whole Charles Manson scene, when they broke in, and it was like meant to be funny, when he was like, when that girl was like flailing around in the pool or whatever, and everyone in my screening was laughing, and I was like, this is kind of, I don't get why it's funny, because, well, I get why it's funny, but I don't know why he tried to make this bit funny, because it's the Manson family. Like, I just didn't get the tone of it whatsoever. and it was just really odd. It didn't click with me, and everything that happened to them was like happenstance. I think that a lot of like Tarantino films, there's like a goal, or like someone's on a journey, or someone's doing something, whereas it was just kind of those two like pallying around Hollywood. Like,
yeah,
exactly. I think that's kind of the point of it. I think the point was to maybe not. It was like his interpretation of that period, and it's like it. A lot of it was about nostalgia as well, which is why like Bruce Lee was brought into it and things like that. And I just think it was like a moment in time that he put on screen. I don't think there was, I don't think he went too in depth with the purpose of the film.
It'd be nice to go in a bit more in depth, but I enjoyed the scene of it and the 60s and everything about it, it was a nice film. It was beautiful. It was good to look at. And it made the time go a bit faster, but it was a long film with no real standout point. I didn't have anything that stood out to me. I forgot the majority of the film apart from the last bit.
Happened in the house at the end.
Yeah, that's it. But I don't want to wait 2.5 hours for 5 minutes.
But that's the point, though. The whole thing is that everybody's waiting for Sharon Tate to get killed, and they go to the wrong house, and it is the whole point of the film. I just thought it was brilliantly done. I thought everything about it was superb.
If you were to rank it with the rest of his films, you would not put it anywhere in the top 3, maybe 5.
No, but that doesn't mean it's not great. It still means it's fantastic. But I just think his other films are better. That's all.
Oh. Yeah. I'd agree with what Amy just said there, Tom. I think 7 of his films are fantastic and 2 of them aren't. So I don't think there's necessarily a bad thing with not having a point to the movie. I mean, just look at Pulp Fiction. What's the plot in Pulp Fiction? Like,
exactly.
Two guys go get burgers, but like, the scripts, the characters, the journeys that some of the characters go on are just incredibly fascinating, and like you just get so engrossed with this like cool mob life.
But were you not engrossed with the life of Brad Pitt and Leonardo?
No, I wasn't.
I really was.
For whatever reason, I could not click and
it was a bit wooden, wasn't it?
These characters. It's just something I just can't put a pin in. That
I think.
I just could not connect.
I'm not going to lie. I think Brad Pitt has been quite unimpressive recently. Like, I feel like every film I watch him in, he's always the same. But whereas Leonardo DiCaprio has range, he is amazing and just he's such a rated actor. But then again, he's underrated because he's only like won 1 Oscar.
For the wrong movie.
For the wrong movie.
The Revenant is amazing.
I thought it was
it's amazing, but he should have won it for other films. He should have
won it for Wolf of Wall Street. There you go.
Who won it above him in Wolf of Wall Street, though? You got to look at what there was in that year.
Matthew McConaughey for
Dallas Buyers Club. Well, then, yeah, there you go. So it's just unfortunate, the timing.
Yeah, exactly, which is why he got the Revenant, because they were
losing weight doesn't make you a good actor.
As well, I'm sorry, there was far too many feet in this film. I know he likes feet.
Yes.
No, I'm sorry. The amount, like Margot Robbie's dirty feet and that girl's feet on the dashboard.
You quite like that. You're a dirty bastard, Ed.
Hey, it's whatever. If I speak, I'm in trouble.
It's almost like Tarantino saw all the memes and comments about him being obsessed with feet and thought, okay, I'm going to take it up a notch.
Literally, it was just meta.
Yeah, it was just like totemic of him to do it.
Totemic.
Nice. Oh, I didn't mean to do that.
Lovely. Well done. Another film that year, I particularly enjoyed 1917. Now, I've heard a lot of people saying that, the story, it's not got much to it. It's a dead story.
It's a singular narrative.
It's so immersive. When I was in that cinema, I was with you on Amy, of course, and I was tense throughout. I felt it in the bottom of my stomach throughout the movie. I thought it was fantastic, and the cinema work, as you know, the lack of cuts within the film, brilliant.
I think I think it was probably one of the most impressive films I've seen this year in terms of like cinematography and CGI. So when that plane comes down,
Yes.
oh
Yeah.
god,
Amazing.
that was just
Amazing
absolutely
scene.
My
unreal.
particular favourite was just the opening 20 odd minutes where they were just walking through the trench. They go over to no man's land. He cuts his hand, puts it in like a dead body.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then they get to the other side of there's like a big lake, and then Amy spotted it out. The camera goes behind a rock, and then it cuts, and that's probably like the first cut within 10 minutes of shooting. It's ridiculous.
And every
great.
time they went through like a doorway or whatever, you could like, I would have assumed they cut there as well. And every time there was a bit of darkness and stuff. The only thing that I was massively disappointed with that film, apart from Andrew Scott, was everybody, all the extras, all the cameos. I thought everyone was terrible apart from Andrew Scott.
Yeah,
I hated everyone.
I thought Benedict Cumberbatch was a bit strange, but I did like thingy from Gavin and Stacey.
Nessa.
Oh, yeah.
Just imagine Nessa in the middle of no man's land.
Oh.
Take them
Heads
all
down, heads down. The Germans are over the ridge.
No,
I can't
she'd be
remember what it's
driving driving the lorry with them all in.
Robert Mugabe. Brilliant. Anyway, yeah, I know what you mean.
Who was from Gavin and Stacey?
It's him
Pete.
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 Yeah.
It's Pete. I quite liked him. He was with Benedict
Yeah.
Cumberbatch, and he just seemed like he would fit right into that world. I don't know what it was.
Meant all like the big. What about who?
Hugh Grant was in it.
It
I
wasn't.
quite like Hugh Grant.
Hugh Grant was in
not
it.
Hugh.
There was.
No, you're
there
right.
Was,
He was, wasn't he?
No. There was Ralph. There was Ralph Fiennes was in it. I'm pretty sure. Was he on the truck?
I'm going to look now.
No, that was Mark Strong.
Mark.
Yeah,
that's
Mark
it.
It was
Strong.
Colin Firth.
He
It
was
was
good,
Colin
yeah.
Firth. It was Colin Firth. I always get those two mixed up.
Benedict Cumberbatch, the dude from The Bodyguard.
Yeah, he was
Andrew
crap.
Scott.
And Andrew Scott. They were the big five.
Mark Strong.
Yeah, Mark Strong. Yeah, I always get mixed up between Hugh Grant and Colin Firth.
Well, they are.
I've
in
been
the
watching too many
movies.
Bridget Jones. Yeah.
Beat you to it, Beth.
Oh,
Great
I have
minds.
to say the worst one
Great film.
was
you're going to say
Richard Madden.
You didn't like Richard Madden, did you?
Horrible, absolutely horrible acting, awful. And I just feel like they did that take and they kept it in because it was such a long take, and they were like, "Fuck
Yeah.
I don't even
They were like, I can't
remember.
be asked to redo it all."
Why
We'll
was
just
he
keep
so
it.
bad? Like, I swear he was only like, he said like 2 sentences, didn't he?
Yeah, but he found out that his brother had died,
True, yeah.
and he was like, "Oh, get yourself a drink."
Yeah,
I don't
but
remember
maybe
that bit.
But I didn't.
Right
mind
at
that.
the end,
it was almost
just
like
before he
it was
goes
almost
and
like
sits
shock.
behind the tree.
So it was like he was just so in shock that his brother had died.
Nah.
It was just a normal thing to do, isn't it? Oh, get yourself a drink.
Maybe I have bias because I'm biased because he was so crap in The Bodyguard. But
Well-
The Bodyguard was so crap.
I can't
Yeah.
believe I made
Didn't finish it.
us all watch it. I am sorry.
No, it's okay. I wanted to watch it as well because my mum raved about it.
It's an old people show, though, isn't it?
Did.
It's for old people who
Actually,
don't
no,
have
my
a
mum
clue.
didn't like it.
And
that
Ed liked it.
Again,
Ed has no taste. So
if I speak, I'm in trouble. So,
why do you keep saying that?
it's a meme. Find out who said it originally. It's good. Yeah, 1917 was just incredible. Like Tom said, that sequence of going over no man's land was so tense. It felt like I was holding my breath for the entire 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And then it was like similar to Whiplash in that sense. Like I felt like I couldn't breathe during Whiplash, and then after when the credits started rolling, then I was like, whoa. And that's so 1917 had that effect. On me, which
Also,
was
something that I
definitely
thought was really good in that
worthy.
film was when after the plane crash, when I think his name is Lance, Blake rather, when he dies and starts going white.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
So
How did they
good.
do that? Yeah. Crazy.
might have been done in post, but
yeah, it would have been
amazing.
done in post, and they would have just taken the saturation.
Fair
off, but
play to him. He
still.
stayed still for like a good 10 minutes there.
Yeah.
Great acting.
I wonder when they got over the hill, they were like, right, you can move now. We'd be like,
He's like,
done.
Actually died.
Held his breath for so long. Oh dear, we should laugh.
Well, he didn't die, so it's all right.
Yeah. We mentioned Joaquin Phoenix, didn't we? But
Yeah,
anyway,
I was just about to go on to Joker.
what do you want to mention, Beth?
Oh, I was going to dive into Parasite, but I think
Oh,
we'll do Joker.
yeah, Joker first, and
Yeah,
then
go on
save the
then.
best
Yeah.
till last.
yeah. Fair enough. I do you know what? When me and Amy went to see the Joker, we went into this really small cinema in St Anne's, and there was these 3 people, maybe 2 or 3 rows in front of us, who would
Being
not
dickheads.
stop talking throughout, and people were having a go at them during the cinema. That kind of ruined it, really. I haven't seen
Oh
it
my
since
God.
as well.
That's a
Yeah,
shame.
they're proper little shits, weren't they? They were much
Yeah.
younger as well, and they were like drinking and
Did you say they were older?
younger.
Oh,
Little-
okay.
Yeah, they're like little
Acting.
shits. Yeah,
Because I had two like sort of maybe mid to late 30s women who ruined Toy Story 4 for me, because me and Ollie were trying to watch it, and I don't know if they were high or if they were drunk, but literally every time something slightly dramatic happened, they would like scream, and it was so annoying. And I was like in the row behind them, but the screening was quite full, and no one said anything to them, and I was like, can someone please just tell them to shut up?
Why didn't you?
I should have done, but
Yeah.
but drunk
Too
people are
English.
scary sometimes. No, I do tell people to shut up sometimes, but yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I do it, but facing forward, so no one knows where the shush is coming from.
It's clever.
But yeah,
yeah, so
Joker.
Joker. So overall, obviously dampened experience by idiots, but overall,
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Really good. I was shocked to see it got quite bad reviews. Like it's got
Yeah.
a rating of like a very mediocre rating, but then it was not and stuff. It was very like
Oh,
what's the word?
I don't know.
Hit and miss. That's it. That's what I was looking for.
Oh, right, okay.
59. That's its meta score on.
But what have the bad
That's it.
reviews said? Because I don't think it's a flawless film, but I don't know how anyone like critically could dislike it.
Yeah.
Well, IndieWire said in a short word, they said it's good enough to be dangerous and bad enough to demand better.
Okay. I can kind of understand that. Yeah.
And they gave it a 58.
out of
Yeah.
100,
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're very
so low.
harsh. Like even the best films get quite like in the 80s, and then occasionally they'll just hand out a random 100, probably to Parasite and whatnot, which is understandable.
I love Joker. Me, I thought it was phenomenal. Like the acting, the directing, the cinematography. Like you could clearly see his as soon as like the light, like his clear like slow descent into madness, like from that scene on the train where he got beaten up, and then he was like, "I've had enough of this world," and that he's like figuring out what he could do with himself, and then like you just see like taking the gun into the hospital. And then getting fired, getting beat up on the street. It's just all adding up and adding up. And then like it's like not only like for the film, but morally like outside in the real world, like how well do you treat thy neighbor and stuff like that. It ponders great questions like, do you treat people as well as you should? Like, do you understand that other people may be suffering with other things that you don't know about, etc., etc. And I thought it was excellent.
Yeah.
I do remember starting to watch the film and almost immediately hating it because I thought there's no way that the Joker that they're presenting to me right now is going to be the one that like puts makeup on, hangs outside of a car and like licks his lips all the time like a manic person, like exactly like the Heath Ledger character. But that transition was so well done. And by the end of it, I was like, wow, that's really good.
I went into it. Sorry, go.
No, you go, Beth. Go.
Okay. I was just going to say, I went into it with some doubts because I'd read that it wasn't very political, like at all. And it was a bit restrained when it came to any political message, and which surprised me because obviously it's a bit of a meme at this point, the whole like we live in a society type thing. But I thought it was quite political, and it was, you know, his mental health services were cut and things like that, which was very explicit. And that was obviously a stepping stone for him into madness. And so I don't see why people, I mean, it could have been more of in a way, but I thought it was just kind of the right amount of politicalness, if that's a word, for people to get on board with it.
Yeah, definitely. Especially when he's like on TV broadcasting to everybody, and then shoots Robert De Niro in the head. That was
good
just
scene.
So good.
Amazing moment. Yeah.
Joaquin Phoenix or Heath Ledger?
No, it's not a question worth asking because they're two completely different.
There's obviously
Jokers.
one answer. There's
Heath
obviously the
Ledger.
answer.
There is it doesn't matter. You can't compare them. They're two completely different characters.
No,
pretty
you
much.
can compare them. You
can
compare Ronaldo and Messi all the time, so you can compare
They're
Joaquin Phoenix and
footballers.
Heath Ledger.
They're footballers.
But
it's
they've
like-
played for
Joaquin
different
Phoenix and
teams in
Heath
different
Ledger
leagues
as
now.
both actors.
No.
Different styles of football. You know, you still say Ronaldo's better.
But do you not
love them both
compare
equally.
Batman?
Batman.
Do you not, like, people say, you know, Christian Bale's the best Batman or whoever. So
Adam
Yeah, but
West.
that's
Adam West.
again. I feel Adam West is the best one. I feel again. I think there's easier comparisons to make with Batman because you look at Michael Keaton playing Batman in the '89 movie. That is a pretty dark. That's still a pretty dark Batman movie, and some people consider that the best Batman movie. And then the Dark Knight trilogy, again, that is a pretty dark version of the Batman as well. Whereas the Joker is a single focus on this one character's descent into madness, and the Dark Knight has the best villain out of any movie, just being an absolute pain in the ass, but also but like with real motivation as well. Or does he have I need to see that again. Actually, I need to watch that again.
No, you're right. It's basically comparing a villain in a movie doing what he's supposed to do, which is torment the good guy, and then Joker, which is a completely different type of film. There's nothing
because the best thing
in it.
Exactly, the best thing that the Joker does is that you empathize with Arthur Fleck. You don't sympathize, you empathize with him. You can feel sorry for him, or maybe even pity him to an extent. And you understand his reasons, although you may not agree with what he does. I think that was the line that the Joker needed to walk on, and it did it phenomenally well. Like, it didn't straighten to the point where it's like, oh no, that guy is in the wrong, or oh no, society is definitely in the wrong. Like, there's no clear side to it. It's like it treads it really, really well. I think Joker was executed perfectly, and anyone who says it's a bad film, their opinion are wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, really enjoyed it.
Wow.
Actually, some of the information that I read about Joker was very interesting. Joaquin Phoenix had a lot of influence on it, and specifically the bathroom scene. You know, where I can't remember. Does he kill someone after he does that, and then he goes in that subway bathroom?
Yeah, doesn't he shoot that? Oh, I'm not sure. He might be running away from someone, actually. I can't fully remember.
He definitely has a gun in it, because the original script was he was supposed to be really panicky. He was supposed to try and flush it down the toilet. He was trying to get rid of the evidence and stuff. But he listened to that piece of music, and Joaquin Phoenix decided that he was going to do the dance to it, just because he felt like the Joker had finally gained some control in his life, and it was like a therapeutic moment for him. And just a lot of like Phoenix's influence in the film is like really like iconic scenes.
Yeah, that's why he was perfect for it. He really fits
Absolutely.
that. He's a weird fella. Well,
his name's
Yes,
Joaquin
he is
Phoenix,
very weird.
You know.
Actually, no, I've got the best Joker, Jared Leto, without question.
Oh,
What?
No, the best
you're being
Joker
a
is
laugh there, aren't you?
the best Joker is Zach Galifianakis in the Lego Movie.
Yeah.
That's a great Joker right there.
Nice.
There we go. We've had a laugh. Right, Joker, excellent movie. Let's go on to Parasite now. We mentioned it a few times.
Yeah, go on.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, just the
so
best
good.
film I've seen in probably a couple of years.
In years since Whiplash. That is the best film I've seen since Whiplash. So good.
Yeah.
He just got everything spot on, didn't he? I think, I've listened to quite a few things, and I've watched clips and proper real dive-ins of the film. And one of the a comment that I've seen is that it doesn't romanticize the poor. Like, the poor family, they're real human beings, and like the mum says, you know, they're not assholes, but like the rich people are the ones who can afford to be nice and who can, you know, be all cutesy, and they're the ones who have to be savvy and smart and like almost screw people over to an extent to survive. And I think, you know, like the basement family and stuff, and I think it just hits everything on the head so well.
Absolutely. I think it was such a layered film as well. It had so many different aspects to it. And to be honest, I went in not expecting much. I thought it'd be like a really long foreign film that I'd have to pretend to like, just so, you know, because I'm a film student or whatever. But it wasn't. It really wasn't. And I was like, holy shit. And I was just like utterly blown away for like days. Like, I still think about it now, and I'm like, God, that was good.
Yeah.
I just remember the like about halfway through the movie, like when the rich family are out and they've got the big house to themselves, and like they're just enjoying it. And like, I'm just trying to think like where this film can go from here, because they've succeeded in what they're doing. And then the old maid comes back, and then the film just like flips upside down and just goes to a new level. I'm like, oh my God, that was genuinely one of the most exciting things I've ever seen in my life. Like that film, that moment blew me away. And I like the fact that every character was incredibly smart as well. Like, even like the teenager kids, the teenage poor kids, they were incredibly smart as to how they manipulated their way to get inside. The
mum as well was a brilliant character.
Yeah, every character was excellent, but the guy who was like locked down in that basement for years and years, like using Morse code to be able to communicate, was stroke of genius. Just so good, so good. And then when the poor dad ends up in the basement, so smart, so smart.
That was the only thing. I think it's basically a flawless film. Apart from the only little niggle I have is that ending. You know, when he's communicating in Morse code with his son, who's just on the hill, and it's such a long letter. And part of me is like, that's the only bit I'm like, that's just a bit far. I know it's far fetched to an extent, but that is just a bit too far. But other than that, perfect.
Yeah, film, but at the same time, what's he got to do with his life? He's got may as well send a really, really long letter, because he's got nothing else to do. It's basically like us in quarantine, but you know, with more food and light and you know, soft furnishings. But the most stressful thing I found from that film was when they were all hiding underneath the coffee table after they came back from the camping trip. And when she was trying to clean the kitchen, and she just chucked all the dirty shit and all the crap in the drawers. I just found that whole thing so tense.
And she's trying really quickly to make that stew for them or whatever it is. Yeah.
Oh God, yeah, that Ramadan. I really want to have that.
It annoyed me when the family were going away on the camping trip, and they were like eating and drinking and whatever, and they were like throwing glass and shit. And I was just like, I know it's obviously saying that they've become too confident in the position that they've had, but I was like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Why?
They become too confident.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just knew something was going to go wrong. You were like, well, they're getting a bit too cocky now.
Yeah, and it was up to that moment where I kind of was like, oh wow, yeah, good for this family. They've overcome this to have this like circumstance, and they've done really well. And then they became too confident, and that's when it kind of flipped on its head, like Ed said. And that's when it kind of got really interesting. I was like, when it got to that point, I was thinking, must have been about an hour or so in or whatever, and I was like, what are they going to do now? What's going to happen?
I think the characters as well, sorry to interrupt you, the characters as well were really funny. I thought
They were
so quirky and just especially the brother-sister relationship.
I know what you're going to mention.
that rap.
Yeah. Illinois, Chicago, that thing. Very good. Very, very genius. Very, very genius.
Very genius.
Very, yeah.
Wow, much genius.
Much genius.
Such
very
wow.
good. I just have just nothing but admiration for that film, especially for what's his name?
Bong Joon-ho.
Bong Joon-ho.
Well, that's it. That's the guy.
Yeah.
What a guy.
It's made me want to get into Korean cinema more. Like, I want to go and watch some, which is like such a broad statement because obviously it's a whole country. But I've only seen Snowpiercer by him. But
Edgar Wright actually tweeted and said and gave like a load of Korean film recommendations, which I have not done yet, but they looked really good.
I'll have to check that out.
I also want to mention Little Women because I absolutely adored that film, and that came out last year. I don't know if the boys in this group have seen that film yet.
I haven't seen it.
I think you'd like it, Ed. I really do.
That's what Beth said, so I might give it a go at some point whenever either it comes out on DVD or
Florence
available
Pugh in that film is good.
She is brilliant.
I'm won over by Florence Pugh. I've now seen her in like two
She's
big
so
movies.
good,
I saw her in that Fighting with My Family, and
Fighting with My Family is so crap.
it's a good movie. That is a good movie.
It's not. It's terrible. I don't know how it got.
I really liked it.
It's not
really
that
liked
good.
it. I think it tells a really good story.
Wrestling. It reminded me of my childhood.
The only bit I didn't like was when she's actually the post WrestleMania night when she's on Raw, and like they still treat it as if wrestling is real. That's the main gripe I have with the movie. And then the night after WrestleMania, when she debuts her character, it's nothing like what actually happened.
It's fucking cringy when I look at it.
Yeah,
so
I think she did an excellent job. But yeah, I've now seen her in that and Midsommar, so I'll definitely continue to follow her.
She did Midsommar and then went straight into Little Women, and I've never seen like her characters are so opposite. And in Midsommar, that must have been so emotionally draining.
It's hard. It's hard to watch.
But Little Women in that film, she has to go from being a child to a woman in it, and you can massively tell the difference because the film kind of jumps through this timeline, and it's really well done. Little Women, actually, there's a bit in it as well where it brings modern like cinematography and modern like cinema into the mix of Little Women, and it just brings it forward to a much modern version of it, and it's just so good. I could not recommend that film enough.
I think it's so beautiful. The acting's amazing. I think the cast is like it's pretty flawless, to be honest. Like, I loved how and I loved the message as well that Jo was always saying throughout it, that she just wasn't bothered about marriage. She wasn't bothered about, being with someone. But then at the same time, she couldn't help feeling lonely. And
that kind of like where she's like, I'm so lonely. And at the same time, she just doesn't want to conform to modern. Well, not modern, obviously, for those times. But the only thing I didn't like about it, the only tiny little thing I didn't like about it was Bob Odenkirk's character.
You hate him, don't you? You hate Bob Odenkirk.
I think ever since How I Met Your Mother, he's just put me off me.
He's put you off you?
No, he's put me off. He will always be the tugboat lover guy, and that's the name of his dog in How I Met Your Mother, by the way, if you haven't seen it.
I haven't.
And he just popped up in Little Women, and he just like, I was like brought back to reality, and I was like, he's in it.
That's exactly what it did for me. I like Bob Odenkirk a lot, and then he like bursts through the door, and he's like, "Hey kids," and I'm like,
it's
Saul you. Goodman. What are you? Yeah, what are you doing?
Saul Goodman.
I can see what you mean. Like, I can't see him not as Saul Goodman. Really,
No,
it's difficult to put him into other scenarios. He was in The Incredibles 2, actually, wasn't he? He was the voice of the.
Was.
But
That was a good match. I think that voice suited him. But women, I think it was just bad casting. And I just, it just snapped me back to reality. I was like, oh, I'm watching it.
Oh, I know what you mean. That's interesting. That and it kind of happened in 1917 as well. With that, where you've got this film, and then all of a sudden, Benedict Cumberbatch there, and it's almost a novelty that he's there.
I still
Would
think
you have preferred it with nobodies?
Not nobodies. Like I think the leading two actors, obviously they're relatively big, but they're not.
I had not.
It's not about them.
Not know. I'm going to have a look now.
You didn't know it was in from Game of Thrones, did you? You didn't know it was.
No, I didn't. I didn't
Charles Chapman,
him.
whatever it's called. Yeah, and obviously the other guy's been in a few things, but yeah, like I liked Andrew Scott in there and stuff like that. But
Andrew Scott's great in everything.
He is. He? Really good. He was really good in it. Really, really good. And yeah, Mark Strong as well. He's a bit like when he came into it, I was like, oh look, Mark Strong. Yeah, you know.
Another film that I'm just going through the list of things that came out last year. Obviously, Knives Out came out. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Yes, yeah, very good.
I thought that was okay. I didn't think it was phenomenal, but I thought it was a nice whodunit. I thought it was nice, but I didn't like Daniel Craig's accent. I don't know what was going on with that. But another film that absolutely blew my socks off last year was Marriage Story.
Yeah,
with Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson. Oh,
amazing movie.
I kind of hated how much I loved Adam Driver in that, because he wasn't that different to Scarlett Johansson. He was
Kylo Ren. I thought you were going to say he's not that different to Kylo Ren.
No, because the thing is with that film is that Adam Driver's character in it is so emotional, and I think men being vulnerable and emotional and sensitive ultimately makes them a better actor and a more captivating actor, whereas Scarlett Johansson does the same, and she's just an emotional woman. But annoyingly, I still thought it was fantastic.
What do you mean? Sorry, I don't really get what you mean.
Gender stereotypes there.
No, I'm not. I genuinely, I'm not. I just don't understand the point you're making there. So she is as emotional as him, but you found her to be a bit annoying?
No. I'm saying that he was found to be, like, from reviews that I read and things like that, he was found to be, there was nothing but praise for him in it. Obviously, there was praise for Scarlett as well, but there was more praise for him than her. But they both broke down crying. They were both super vulnerable. They were both sensitive, but because he's a man, it's ultimately more captivating. And I find it more captivating as well because it is, slightly, unusual that a guy can break down and be so vulnerable, and in that state. But it just annoyed me that I found him more captivating than her because he was in the same, state.
I see.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a good point.
But I still loved it so much, and I still, fancy the pants off Adam Driver. So
yeah, I'm with you there.
Yes.
Timothy Chalamet or Adam Driver?
Adam Driver.
Okay.
He's just a man, He's just a big, bulky man.
God, when he's got his top off in The Last Jedi, whoa!
I saw that tweet that was like, "Why does Adam Driver, at the not unusual height of 6'2", seem like the biggest man of all time?"
He does.
Yeah.
Why?
He looks 6'7" in everything.
It's because everything's so high-waisted. His legs are really, really long.
I think as well it's because so many actors and so many people in Hollywood are tiny. Like, you don't realise how tiny they are. And so him actually being pretty tall just seems humongous.
It's so
funny. Like, I think Robert De Niro had to wear like 5-inch platforms for his character in The Irishman just to make him taller.
Wow.
He did. Yeah.
Did he? How tall?
There's a photo of him.
He's 5'10", 5'9".
Oh, that's not that bad.
I know, but his character is like his character needed to be taller than Al Pacino's character and Joe Pesci's. He's taller than Joe Pesci anyway, but he needed to be taller than Al Pacino's character, so they had to give him platforms. And there's a great photo of him. Like, it's just the platforms are so thick.
It's like 5 inches.
Do you remember that? Did you used to watch? This is such a random comparison. Did you all used to watch Basil Brush?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the girl, the bully who wore the mega platforms, is like that.
Oh, I don't
Do you remember it all?
I do not remember her. I'm sorry.
Never mind.
Basil
Then.
Brush.
It's a useless comparison then. But for
Unless
me, it
it's
just came to
Basil,
me.
Mr. Stephen, Anil, or Molly. I don't know who they are.
No, it was the bully.
There's a bully.
There was a big ginger bully, the girl, and she was she wore platforms to make herself look taller. So doesn't matter.
Well,
Doesn't
thanks for that,
matter.
Ed.
Well, comment down
brilliant.
below if you get Ed's reference.
Oh, dear me. Deary me.
That's going in the title.
Wow.
Brush's bully.
Wait, who did? So she bullied Basil Brush.
I think yeah, she did. No, she
I'm
bullied.
giggling,
She bullied Basil.
She
the
bullied
girl
a puppet
in the TV. The girl in
Did she just
Basil
take him
Brush's
off
girl.
the hand? Like,
Yeah, you're not real.
Oh my god, there's a picture on thingy where this bully alleged. Oh, I remember her now.
There you go.
She's
I've got to Google it
massive
now.
hoop earrings,
The Basil
she's got a
Brush
gold
bully.
chain, and
Oh,
she does
typical,
a shot of her
typical.
grabbing his snout. That's very aggressive.
bully.
Oh wow!
What a
okay.
bully.
As if you remember that, Ed.
Weird.
It's me.
It's funny how you remember things like that, isn't it?
I'm a
Jeez.
Oh my god, what about Cousin Mortimer? Eh? I'll just Google it.
Cousin Mortimer. Yeah. Great.
I
What a
can't
show.
find
I
this girl, so you'll have to
absolutely
send me a picture.
I'll send you a picture in a bit.
Thanks.
But yeah, I'm glad Amy found that. Anyway, back to movies. What we met? Yeah, Marriage Story was excellent. Jojo Rabbit. That was a film we all saw, right?
I've
I
not
love
seen
that.
it yet, but I
You
kind of
haven't?
don't fancy
Oh,
it.
no.
I don't think I don't. I've spoken to friends that have seen it, and obviously not you two. I do have other friends, surprisingly, and they didn't like it.
I'm shocked at that as well.
Why did they say that though?
Good
I
question.
can't remember, but
So here you have two people telling you that film is unbelievably good and you should go and watch it.
okay, I want
to watch it. We missed it during when it was in the cinema, but we'll watch it at some point. It'll probably be on Sky within the next couple of weeks.
Yeah,
Yeah, I cried at the end of that as well. I'm not like too much of a crier, which is why I mention it when I do, because like it's quite hard to like get that out of me usually. But yeah, I really like that. It's a bit of a weird film. It's like quite an odd take on the events of like World War II and stuff. But it's just about this. Obviously, you know, it's about this kid with Adolf Hitler as his imaginary friend. But
yeah.
It's very different, but I liked it, and it was a good take on things, I think. But I do also get why it might be a bit of a miss rather than a hit with people. But I'm basically just being quite vague. I don't want to spoil anything for you. But
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, well, we'll watch it when it comes on, because to be honest, that's been on my watch list for ages, along with Honey Boy and Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Those two films I really, really want to watch.
I want to watch Honey Boy.
Yeah.
So-
Honey Boy is amazing. Honey Boy scarred me. It's so sad.
Oh no,
Yes.
poor Cher.
I know. Is it Shire or Shire? I never know how to say
Shire.
it.
I say Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah.
Coming
It
at
should
you
be
with the
Shia,
next
to be honest.
Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I got it from.
Yeah, da Shia LaBeouf. Great song.
Great
You
song.
don't know. If you know, you know.
If you know,
but yeah,
you know.
in
If you don't, you don't.
in one more thing about Jojo Rabbit. Jojo's best mate, the fat little boy, he is awesome. He is awesome. You will love. I've forgotten his name. Must be like Hank or Thomas or Billy or something. I can't remember.
What, in Germany?
They fat boy
is-
name.
Fat boy.
fat boy name. Yeah,
Billy Bob.
whatever. Billy Bob Thornton. That's his name.
Billy Bob.
Billy Bob Thornton. That's his name. Yeah, he's awesome. The little fat boy in Jojo Rabbit is awesome. So cool.
Well,
Great
keep an
actor.
eye out.
Great actor. He'll be big. Well, he is big, but he'll be big.
That's so mean.
It's funny.
He's so cute, though. He's so cute, bless him.
He looks like little Nick Frost. Everyone was saying
He does. He does. Definitely does.
Wow.
That's so
Brilliant.
accurate. Yeah. Right. What other film should we go?
I don't know. I'm
Do you want to bring Star Wars up, or
Go on, let's
No.
fucking do it, because it was one of the biggest movies of last year, and I hated it. I look back on it more and more and more and more, and I hate it more and more and more and more.
I really liked it.
Why did you like it? Explain. Like, I don't. Each to their own. I don't care. But why did you like it?
It was just good, wasn't it? No, I thought visually it was great. I thought story-wise it was good, but I'm not like a die-hard fan. So for me, it was like face value. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good film. Like, I came out of that and wow, that was cool.
Okay.
And then I didn't really think of it again. So I think die-hard fans feel very differently.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I didn't hate it. It was one of those where like I watched it and I was like, this is good. I'm enjoying this. And then I got out of the cinema and about an hour later I thought, yeah, that wasn't very good. Like as soon as I'd like it had sunk in and I'd gotten over, like the visuals were not there anymore. And I was thinking about the plot and then all the plot holes were coming to me. And I hated what they did with, and I mean, Finn's character was rubbish in The Last Jedi. But they did him dirty. He had such a great potential as a character, and he was just one-dimensional. And I didn't like that they gave Poe Dameron that weird robot girlfriend or whatever. And I thought it was just messy in a lot of places. But again, I'm not a diehard fan, and I did find it entertaining. But it's such a weak Star Wars film compared to the other two.
To be honest, I went to see it.
I'd say it's the worst Star Wars movie. I'd say it's the worst one.
Wow.
What of all time?
Yeah, by a mile. I enjoy Attack of the Clones and Phantom Menace. I enjoyed them so much more.
Menace.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know what you
Phantom
mean,
Menace
it's
is
childhood,
good.
isn't
Phantom
it?
Menace has got good bits in it.
Yeah,
I can't remember a single good bit in Rise of Skywalker.
Phantom Menace end fight scene, Darth Maul. Wow.
Yeah.
What
Amazing.
about with
The
Adam
music,
Driver
the
and
music.
Yeah, exactly. It's iconic. I think I can just tell it's Disney. I just know it's Disney in the last three. It's becoming a kid's film. I'm not happy with any of it, to be quite
But the
honest with
thing
you.
is that a lot of Star Wars fans now are kids, so I guess they have to respect that element as well.
But they're fans. They're fans because of the old films, aren't they? So why would you differ it from the old films?
Well, no, not technically.
No, but yeah, your brother's a fan of Revenge of the Sith, Phantom Menace.
Only because he'd seen,
and that's what made him a fan. That's what made him a fan. So then changing the films into something that's kid-friendly because it's Disney is taken away from what they've previously done.
Well, Ethan really enjoyed it. And I would say he's a pretty diehard fan, including my dad. But I went with the two biggest nerds on the planet, so...
Forget everything I said about Ethan knowing his films. He's an idiot. I'm kidding, Ethan. I'm kidding.
You are just like shitting on everybody today.
I'm so sorry.
You want to rein it in a bit?
It's interesting, like, because the way you talk about which I don't disagree with what you've said about superhero movies in the past. I think what you said is correct, but it's exactly the same with Star Wars. It's all the arguments that you've made about superhero films. You can literally just transfer them over to Star Wars, and it's exactly the same.
I disagree with that completely. No. I think that Marvel movies are trying to be. Every single one is trying to be different, and they're not. And they're all massively money oriented, and I think
every film is money orientated. Every film is money orientated. Take money out of the equation. I'm
sorry, Endgame, but not every film. Can I just say there is a difference between starting a film and going to merchandising and figuring out how they're going to sell it to, how they're going to make money out of it before they've even done a script.
They have done that with Star Wars. They have done that with Star Wars. They added Babu Freak. He was an added character. They did that new little droid with the one eye.
Babu Frick, not Babu Freak. Don't call him
he's a freak.
They've got BB-8. They've got those little bird things on the island with.
No. I'm not talking about Star Wars. You just said every film. I'm talking about like Parasite, for example. They don't go to merchandising first. They don't see how they're going to make money out of it. They make the film. Like
no, but the
difference
point
between
is
cinema and movie.
Interesting.
Amy. Okay.
I like it.
There's every movie is made. The reason why movies are made, ultimately, unfortunately, is to make money. That is the end game for all
that's
of.
Very sad.
No, I don't. That is not why I go.
If you love cinema,
Amy, you know
the point.
Amy, you know I truly love cinema. That's why I go to movies. But ultimately, these production companies, A24, with the company that made Parasite, Disney, every other one, they're all in it to make money. And the reason why films get greenlit is because they think that movie will make money for them. But there's a reason why. There's a reason. No, not every time. It doesn't work out every time. But the reason why they're greenlit is because they feel like they will make a profit on a movie.
Not every time. No, it's not. For example, Christopher Nolan's Inception only got the green light because he threatened not to make Batman 3 because they were like, Inception is never going to make any money.
Blackmail. That's blackmail.
But I've just disproved your point. When they made Inception, it was purely because Christopher Nolan was like, I want to make this film. They were like, no, it's too weird. It's not going to make any money. It's not a safe film. It's not
so money.
And he said, fine, fuck it. I'm not going to do Batman 3. And they were like, oh shit, we really want you to do Batman 3. So and to this day, the production company still say it's a fluke, which is just completely obscene because Inception was a fantastic movie.
But
I did not know that, and I rate that so hard.
There you go.
So much respect for Christopher Nolan for doing that.
Dissertation coming at you. That's what I wrote.
Very good.
Well,
that's a good. That's
a one-off.
It's the one-off.
All right, yeah, it's a one-off. But I will say the difference between Star Wars and Marvel is that Star Wars is a franchise. Okay, Marvel's a franchise.
Yeah, Marvel is now a franchise. But since it's been bought by Disney, it's become like arguably the biggest franchise in the world right now. Certainly one of the biggest franchises in the world.
Marvel
right now.
films,
and the number one grossing movie of all time is.
I think it's 7 of the top 10.
Yeah, because
it's a
film.
Six of the top 10 are made by Disney.
Film is basically just a reunion episode of.
It's not a reunion episode.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Don't try.
Amy. This is the last thing I'm going to say about Marvel and Star Wars and superheroes. It is for this podcast. For this podcast, it is. If you've dedicated your about nearly 50 hours of going to see superhero movie, all the Marvel films leading up to Endgame, the payoff is the best. It's the best payoff I've ever had for a movie, by a mile. It was perfectly done, and it deserved to have
a really good reunion episode.
It deserved to be like as long as it was, the money that it made, and now like it's spawned off into. It's the biggest film of all time, and deservedly so, because they put their hours of effort into those movies before Endgame to reap the rewards of Endgame. And name me a Star Wars movie that came out twice in cinemas.
But I would just like to say that with Star Wars, I feel like Star Wars has a bit more integrity to it, and I think that Star Wars. When I watch Star Wars films, I don't really feel cringy. I don't feel like it's cheesy. Maybe diehard fans do sort of feel like that or whatever. But I genuinely do not feel like the script is cheesy. I think the actors, they work so incredibly hard for Star Wars. Whereas with...
That's a very unfair thing to say.
Yeah, I don't know how you could say that.
I'm sorry. What?
That's a very unfair thing to say.
I would say that Chris Evans
work harder in
they work harder
compared to another. Like Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, they've all like put their heart and soul into it. Like they've done it for 12 years now.
Yeah, but at the same time, there's no real like. I just don't think that they're very good actors, and
They are. I think they are.
Ask them how many Oscars they've got.
Star Wars never.
Thomas,
made me
whose
cry.
side are you on?
I'm on about Marvel here. Like, I mean, I'm not a fan of it. I've seen little bloody clips in American cinemas where they're watching the Endgame and Captain America's holding a fucking hammer. That, for me, that means shit all.
Yeah, but it means something to them.
Yeah, but the whole... I'm not going to get into the whole Captain America holding a hammer, but...
My view is that Marvel films are... I'm not a diehard Marvel fan. I quite like them. I'll go and see them if it looks like a particularly good one. I think it says something that my favourite one is Thor 3. But that's only because of Taika Waititi, because he's like so good at and made it so much, more fun and different. But I think that Marvel films are more consistently good, but Star Wars films have that, like you say, Amy, a bit more integrity to them. I like the fact that it came from a place like George Lucas was a really he was so into his science fiction, and he did like some really avant-garde like science fiction films before the first one. So, and I do get that, and I think they're a lot less cringy, even though there are some famously cringy scenes with Anakin. And so I can kind of see both sides to it.
Yeah. To be honest, though, I don't really see Marvel films as being sci-fi. Are they classed as
have sci-fi.
No, I meant Star Wars is sci-fi.
No, I agree with you. I just had a random thought then. I think that's maybe why as well that I just find superhero films, unless they take the piss out of themselves, like Deadpool and Iron Man. I really enjoyed Iron Man and Deadpool, to be honest. But I just feel
Iron Man's a great movie.
It is. And that's why my last name was Amy Downey Jr. for about 14 years of my Facebook life. But yeah, I just don't feel like... I just don't feel like they've got the integrity that Star Wars has. And Star Wars with sci-fi, I feel like they can embellish a little bit more because it's set in space, whereas superheroes can't really do that.
This argument could go on forever.
We could. Regardless, I love Star Wars and Marvel almost equally, but they're great. They're great movies. They're all fantastic.
I still feel
things.
Like the worst ever Star Wars I could still watch quite happily.
I agree. Actually, no, I don't think I could watch Rise of Skywalker again. But then again,
I think the visual effects are incredible.
I don't think I can watch Iron Man 2 again, though. That film was terrible.
What happened in the Iron Man 2?
Exactly. That's my point. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. We've spoken enough now. Shall we
wrap up?
Yeah, I think we should maybe mention one film that you're gonna watch the one film that you're gonna watch first or whenever you can when quarantine is over. That seems to be a running theme right now.
The French Dispatch, I think. Hopefully it'll be in cinemas.
Yeah, good shout.
And maybe the new James Bond whenever that comes out.
That's my pick. I'm gonna go see the new James Bond.
Yeah.
That would be my number one to go to.
Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage. That's mine. No, I'm joking. The French Dispatch, definitely. I'll be very disappointed if I don't get to see that.
Yeah, me too. Me too, French Dispatch. And again, James Bond, but I don't know. I've kind of gone off James Bond recently.
It's his last one now, and it's a different director. It's that Fukuyama guy, I think. I don't know what he's done in the past, but it looks pretty good. Yeah. Right.
Sorry, I just wanted to also say that the June as well. I'm really looking forward to June.
Yes.
June.
Yes.
Oh yes, yeah.
That one.
Another Timothée Chalamet.
Yeah.
He's doing.
I tried to read that. We had to read that in my science fiction. What's the word I'm looking for? Module at uni, and I didn't really get into it. But hopefully. But it's like an iconic sci-fi book. Like it's known as like one of the best ever sci-fi books, and it's a proper like purist choice. So hopefully it'll be really good.
Oh, and also the this is my last one now. The what's it called? Mulan, the live action version of that's coming out, which I think will be nice, and I think it'll be quite nostalgic for us, because it's obviously
I haven't seen the original.
Set in China.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's
we went to China, didn't we?
If
we've never mentioned
people
that
didn't hear
before.
it, didn't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Right, let's wrap it up there then. Well, thanks for listening, guys. I hope you managed to get through the argument that me and Amy had, or the debate. And if you made it up to this point, thank you very much for listening.
Congrats. Also.
I'm sure we'll do another one again in the near future. And stay safe, wash your hands, all that, and we'll see you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.